Hi, this is Karen Cubico, and today we're going to talk about some things that you can see when you step out of your body after you die, based on memories from past life regression work. So I've remembered a lot of my own personal past lives, and I included 16 of them in this book, Life is Just Another Class. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about what kinds of things do you see once you step out of your body. Well, it depends on the lifetime, truly, and sometimes what it is that you expect. So, when I was shot as Alina, I kind of hovered over my body and I watched as my boyfriend came to see what had just happened to me. And it was not easy to watch because he was crying, and I could see the people walking in the marketplace nearby. Um, just kind of floating up towards the light while I watched all of that happen, kind of like the aftermath of someone being shot, which is what happened. So it was kind of hard to watch. It's sad. You don't want to see anyone be sad. In another lifetime, I died because of a explosion from a volcano eruption. It was quite unnerving and definitely not expected. My two young children and I were kind of pummeled with large pieces of molten rock kind of being tossed out of this volcano eruption. And so when we finally left our bodies, myself and my two children, we kind of left our bodies around the same exact time. So I held their hands and we went into the light together. We kind of did that as a together thing. So that was really kind of nice. And remember to hit that like button and subscribe. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. When I was a man a long time ago who was sort of an Eskimo type of person in a tribe up in northern New York, he died falling into ice while he was trying to haul back a large animal that he had just killed for the food for the tribe. And so when he died, he immediately went back to the longhouse that he was living in with this other large group of folks from his tribe and checked on everybody, checked on people there and checked to see if everyone was okay. And he felt terrible because he was supposed to bring back the food and it had been a very long winter. And after he went to the light, he decided to come back and be born into that same tribe. So that was really kind of cool. When I was a female in Cambodia a long time ago, I was killed by a female lion. After I got killed by the lioness in that lifetime, I watched over my body and then I went to people who were in my tribe and I was like screaming at them, hey, hey, come on, come find my body and come find me, come go. It was like, oh my gosh, trying to get the word across so that someone could like hear it. And so it was really interesting because it took quite a while for someone to get the message in a sense, probably telepathically, to pick up the information. Hey, go look for Ujiwa, go see where she's at and find her. And then they did. They found her dead body and then the cremation ceremony, which was a very big deal for that tribal community. At that moment in my life, I had a young child and I was very heart-stricken to leave them. So I watched over them for a little while, or reluctantly went into the light and practiced being a spirit guide and watching over my child until they chose to pass in that lifetime, which wasn't very much longer after I had died. When I had another lifetime over in Asia as a man, I participated in the war. I died in that effort and I watched over my wife at that time for about 3 months, I think, just waiting there to make sure she was okay, to make sure our son was okay. And I pushed some butterflies at my son, so that was kind of cool. But I didn't know how to comfort her. And why I watched over her for so long was because it was such a long time ago. It took months for people to find out that those who were in the war effort died. And so I was kind of waiting to be there, in a sense, for her when she found out the news that I had passed. And so I stayed until that moment, and it was just too emotional. And I couldn't really make her feel better. So I went into the light after that. That was really a tough one. When I had a past life in Greece, I had a kitchen fire. At that time, the kitchen, in a sense, was really a fireplace that was quite large, and some embers had sparked out of the wood fire and caught the entire house on fire. And because of smoke inhalation, I died in that fire. In the end, after I had left my body, I watched over the fire. I was trying uh, to save some things that were hanging on the wall, which you couldn't, because like you're in a ghostly form, in a sense, in spirit, and your hands just kind of pass through things, and you couldn't save anything anyway. The fire was too much. A few of the lifetimes in there, I passed away and stepped right out of my body immediately. And once that happened, then I was able to see the light right away, and I could go right into the light. Sometimes I watched over my family. Sometimes I just went right into the light. Another lifetime where I was a male, I lived in Scotland and died because I was trapped in this, I don't know, it was like an abandoned cellar filled with water. And once I slid and fell into this basement cellar, it was a trap. I could not get out. And I ended up dying there a few weeks later. It was pretty awful. But immediately upon dying, I was able to see my spirit guide and go, I'm like, get me out of here. I was totally done with suffering. And so I went right into the light with that one. In one lifetime, I was a slave girl down in Virginia. And in my lifetime as Isabella, that was a really tough one to remember. She was quite abused. She saw a lot of abuse, but interestingly, she was pretty psychic. At the end of her life, it was out of fear. She was actually hung and beaten to death. But interestingly, what I noticed is that she didn't experience that pain. She jumped right out of her body. She stood by it, watched to see what was happening, and to, I guess, see her end, in a sense. Then she went right into the light. Now, mind you, in all these different examples that I've given you so far, your spirit guides and angels are almost always immediately around you. And I know I'm not kind of bringing that up, but they're definitely there for you. Angels are there, Passover people are there. I mean, it's just instant. When I was a little girl over in, I believe it's Austria. Now, at the time, it was part of Germany because it was during World War II, and Hitler had invaded a lot of other countries. But she was just a young girl, and she had a few younger siblings in that whole short lifetime of hers. It was a tough one to recall because of the trauma of the war, and such a young age to experience loss of her parent straight away because of it. Then her mother was working making ammunitions or something. Her grandmother was watching her. And I know I have another video on here that goes into more detail about that particular lifetime, but it was incredible because once I left my body as that little girl, and because of all the massive trauma that was happening because of the war at that time, there were trucks going down the road just bombing the whole neighborhood. It was horrifying. It caused the gas lines to blow up and to explode into the house. So we were immediately killed. But what happened next is that our spirit part of us, and when I say us, I mean those around me in the neighborhood, my grandmother, my two younger siblings, we all floated up above the smoke that encompassed this entire neighborhood that was being bombed. And you had like a bird's eye view looking down over everything. But when you cleared the smoke, because it feels like you're floating up away from all of that trauma, that entire sky, oh my gosh, it was filled with all these angels. I mean, it's given me goosebumps talking about it again, but it was so beautiful. And there was this one angel, oh my gosh, they just had their wings around these little kids, because a lot of the trauma of who passed at that moment were little children, because anyone that was of any older age, they were at work helping the efforts of the war, or they were fighting in the war, or they have gotten killed already. So older people and younger children were all that was left in this particular neighborhood, so it seemed at the time. But incredible view of all those angels. I don't even know if I could paint it. It's just, it was, oh my gosh, there were so many. It was so many. It was incredible. Incredible to see. Because that love is there for you, right? When you pass. And those angels are just pure unconditional love. And it's an incredible experience. Trauma ending, but incredible what happened next. In a couple of my lifetimes, other loved ones died right before me, within months or even a few days. In 2 lifetimes, I was a child in one and a teenager in another. And in both lifetimes, my mother had died right before me, like a few months or so. And then in the other one, just a few days. And due to polio in the one, as a younger child, I also succumbed to dying, which is what my mother had died of too. And in the teenage one, I had fallen and broke my neck, and it's a long story, but I had also died right then. But in both times, my mother was standing there for me right when I stepped out of my body, which was super neat, because she had just passed. I'm grieving, and then she's standing right there for me. So your people that love you are right there for you as soon as you pass. And it's really comforting to help you and to guide you and to go into the light with you sometimes. Another one of the lifetimes that I have in here, I'm the mom, and me and my younger child that both die in a flood. And we're holding hands throughout the experience and walk in the light together. It's really kind of neat because, well, it sucks that you die, yes, of course. But it's really kind of nice because they're right there for you immediately, and you have full comprehension of it, and you're holding hands and you're going in the light together. So it's very loving. So hopefully that gives you a decent overview of some good examples on what happened right after you pass out of your body, right after you die, in a past lifetime memory. You can have all these things come through to you to see what happened to you. And make sure you stay to the end, because I have a link to a guided meditation to help you remember a past life. Lots of love and light to you.